But she said, what she's telling me now, she said, I want all of you for a moment to just take a deep breath and to um, really focus on being in that double shield, that uh, group shield that Jeannie was talking about, because I want to show you the next 50, 100 years. And when I say I'm leaning towards moving on, what that means is I want to go into the frequencies which um, change my shape. They change my energy. And in so doing, that brings in a new understanding and a new wisdom and a new insight as to the purpose of creation, as to the size of creation, to the depths of the universes. And I am so thrilled to see beyond the limits of what we think we know and what we think we are and who we are. And that there's so much life out there that goes way beyond our ability to comprehend. And she said, I'm so excited about this existential new experience for myself. And one of the things that I had to get my fill of before I was going to make this decision is I had to get enough fill of Emma and other people whom I've loved because I didn't want to lose connection with them. Because once we start to change shape again, it's different than finding one another. And so I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable with that and that I didn't lose those reference points of my own creation in the process of becoming more. And what she's been talking to me, Karyn's been talking to me for a while, and she's saying, I want you to see further, especially like within the United States, but it's a global thing. She said, we've talked about this virus that is disturbing the force of the planet and the fabric of the planet. And she said the most amazing things are coming into play with all the chaos and the darkness and the inhumanity is this rising force. And she said, what people don't understand is this rising force will take a while to present itself. We tend to see things coming in like in the next day or two or the next year rather than perhaps the next century. And over time, there's this evolutionary process of growth and reestablished alignment with the light and the dark, because the planet is both light and dark. And she said the reason I want to go beyond and grow and accumulate more of myself is so that I can bring part of that back, like I was saying to you, in 50 years to help the process of this alignment, because there's this group that is forming. And I'm so excited about telling you this. There's this group that's forming, this collective of beings. And she's telling me they're not only just from the human form, but they're from other worlds, worlds that take an interest in this place, in this system. And she said, and it's a very expansive group of people. It's a very large group of people. And they're planning their incarnations of coming in. And she said it's not like the indigos or the crystals, or as Regina and Regina have not talked to you about yet, but they need to, about the windows and the dodecahedrons. She said that's another global Sunday, and Monday or whatever podcast. But there is this huge formation of of spirit energy that is already uh, creating its format of coming in and not taking over, but taking over energetically. And it's the best of humanity, but it's also the higher understanding and levels of energy. But consciousness could not be ready for it until they had seen the darkness. in its full, direct, ugly presentation. Sometimes it just has to get that bad and that dark for collectives to make a decision about what they as a collective wish to be. And she said, I'm so excited, not because I want to see people hurt or, ruined, but because it's a gift that we collectively have made a decision about. Just as a child makes a decision about how long they're going to stay or how long they're going to leave, or an adult makes that decision, collectives make similar decisions. And so we're in that dark space right now. We're probably getting to that dark part of the abyss. We're kind of like, kind of down there. But after a while, what happens is the collective gets so disgusted with the negative flow of creation that their own resolve to be part of the solution and the progress becomes this more than 100th monkey evolutionary process, and the collective starts to emerge towards the light. And just at the right time, this collective group is going to incarnate and aid in this progression into this new renaissance. And I want to tell you that that is where everything is headed at this point. There's always possibilities, probabilities, directions can change. But at this point in time, this is what all the research is suggesting, that this is how it's going to play itself out. And I wanted to share that with you more than anything, more than what I look like, no matter how many people I've met on this other side, no matter what my passage was. At that point, it doesn't matter, because now I have this information and I have been given permission to join this group, as have many of what we call light workers, and including some who are not necessarily calling themselves that. But there's this incredible, and I want to say menagerie because it comes from all different places, but the one thing that is the same for every one of us is what you would call the heart space. That knowing of humanity, that authority of love and truth and grace, all those words put into one field of energy. And we have ETs, what you call ETs. We have avatars. And that's another story I wish that Regina and Jeanne could tell you about the 9 worlds, because that explains so much of what we're processing here. And I just couldn't wait to share with you where you're headed. And I know many of you will probably join me, because you won't be here in 50 years, thank God. But you don't have to be a part of it if you don't want to. But given the opportunity to come back and hopefully remembering as much as you possibly can. And when we do come in, the structure that's being created is what you do want to remember and what you do want to forget and what you want to use as your vehicle towards being a part of this incredible group of beings that's coming in all different places around the world, not just the United States or Australia or England, South America, Russia. It's these beings have come from all places on our planet and are being in this place of study and expansion with the sole purpose of coming back as this collective to infuse the earth field with new life and new creative direction and understanding. And that right now is the strongest probability that is on the books. And again, things can change, but right now, that's where we stand. And I would not bring you to this if it wasn't the absolute truth. So there you go.
That's great news. Thank you, Karyn. There was also something else that I'm just going to interject now, because she was showing me pictures and we ran out of time, I guess, about the global catastrophes that are happening around the world, be them the wars, the famine, the floods, the fires, just the Armageddons basically all around the world that each person is experiencing as a community, but as an individual, they are affecting their home life. And from her perspective, she says, I feel like I'm looking at it through a television now. I don't feel like I'm a participant like I was before, where before she felt like she had to be out there in the field. And a lot of that was to keep her mind occupied and to keep all of her juices flowing about that serving others, always serving others. And she loved doing that. And she said that was a passion of hers. If she couldn't be passionate for Emma anymore, she had to be passionate with that passion. Emma was just a short 12 years of her life or 15 years of her life. And she said that she had to go grab back into that passion of servitude. But she says now when she looks at that, she's looking at it through a television screen and she's sitting way back and it's so far away. And it's still happening. She's still seeing all the newsreels and everything, but it's not affecting her viscerally as much as it used to. And she said that's how spirit works, though. It takes you out of that interpersonal relationship with earth or with people, and your focus is more on the quality of the system of the entire being. So she just wanted to share that with you, and I don't know. Thank you.
Was intrigued and fascinated and delighted to hear all this talk about Karyn's prospects for the next 50 to 100 years. Can she be more precise? Does it mean the end of war? Does it mean the end of these destructive fires that are destroying our planet? Does it mean the death of the dominant philosophy of materialism? Can we tie it down a little better?
Well, Karyn is actually going to give the floor to Estelle Roberts. That's why she's here. And Karyn could answer that, but Estelle she was at two months ago on global gathering, or maybe 3 months ago, spoke to this and
Oh,
and spoke to the fact that things were going to get a lot darker before they were going to get better.
okay.
And in terms of specifics, Estelle is saying it's hard to say specifically there's going to be this percentage of understanding on this level or this percentage of understanding on another level, whether it's global warming, whether it's the loss of the need to be in greed. If we can see a Star Trekian planet, where everybody's learning to get along with each other and we don't need money anymore, and that utopian almost kind of attitude. And she said, we know that the direction eventually will go towards the unification of mind, thought, reality. Well, I like that phrase.
Yeah.
Unification, I got to write that down. Unification of mind, thought, reality. Wow.
I
But
like
she
that.
said how we get there is still up for grabs. In other words, we don't know in which area it'll happen first. We have the collective of climate change and how we deal with our planet. We have the collective of how we make our living, and in that, the politics of it. And then we have the philosophy of people loving and accepting all the different shades of creation. And then we have the fifth element of putting all of these things together. And what Estelle is saying is there are groups that are working on each one of these categories that I just shared with you. And what happens when this big collective comes in is that they're going to bring the energetic that breeds the unification of this mind thought reality. And so we have to have the people prepared enough to be able to enter into that. And that's when they come in to continue to foster it. As Estelle is saying right now, we don't know which one's going to take off first. We don't know if it's going to be the climate issue that's going to take off first. We don't know if it's the political a situation that she said, I'm going to tell you a little secret. She said, as bad as the USA is right now, there are other countries that are just as bad, but the USA is a big one. And she says, the problem is the potential for the US to destroy itself is very large right now. And she said that's one of the things I brought through when I was first speaking to the group a couple of months ago. She said, but also with that potential for destruction is this incredible Renaissance Phoenix potential. We don't know yet which way that one's going to go. But we do know that the philosophical or humanitarianly moral part of treating our neighbor as we would treat ourselves is a huge finger of this hand that is likely to engage first. Because as that engages, when we relate to our neighbors, when we relate to all species, then we're more able to find strength in working to bring the phoenix into a political system which allows the Mother Earth to be taken care of and the government to realize that, et cetera, goes all the way in. And so we don't know which is going to engage first. And when one engages, it hopefully will be the domino effect, where one will engage the other, will engage the other, will engage the other. At this point, because we're just in the mix of this whole destruction in the US has been going on for a long time. It started before World War II, and it's building and building and building and building, which just shows there always was this 1% that wants to rule the world. And whether they're Russian or American or, from Czechoslovakia, wherever, it doesn't matter. It's the 3 or 5 richest people in the world and who controls the media, et cetera. But within that, there are these strands of consciousness that I just spoke of. Well, I'm going to just put them into the category of the 5, that when they finally start to take off, they will engage each other. That's what has happened before in the past, in other Renaissance times, in other civilizations that you're not even aware of. And so consequently, this is actually protocol. It's just that right now it might seem horrendous and new to you because you've forgotten how other civilizations that you've been a part of at other times have gone through the same type of evolution. This is the protocol. This is the evolution of this planet. This is what it was made for choices. Who are we going to serve? What are we going to serve? What's important? This is where you make choices about light and dark, good and bad. And it's what this planet was designed for. However, it does need to be reconciled and realigned, and that is where we're going now. And so Estelle is very clear about this unification of mind, thought, reality. So in prayer work, she says, and anything else that you do, it's understanding that we are working towards a unified field of consciousness.
That's splendid. That's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Scientifically, as well as all those other things. Because science is working towards it too, even though a lot of information is suppressed. It's still coming forward.
I think that's absolutely right on, Jeanne. Thank you. And thank you, Estelle.